Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. And welcome to the third episode in the 4-part mini-series, The Self-Compassion Journey, Embracing Your Inner Ally. I am so excited that you're here today. If you're tuning in for the first time, make sure to check out the first 2 episodes of the series, where I really lay down the groundwork for understanding self-compassion, and we also healed our inner critics. Now, today's episode is especially close to my heart, and I think it will resonate with many of you. We're diving into a topic that feels so relevant, especially during these tough times when it feels the hardest to love ourselves. That's right. We're talking about how to love yourself when you don't feel like it. Like I mentioned at the end of the last episode, this one's super, I feel this in my heart so much. Because I have days or weeks even sometimes where I don't really feel like loving myself. So let's kick things off by acknowledging a truth we all face. Loving ourselves can be incredibly challenging, particularly during difficult moments. We've all been there. Maybe you've had a rough day at work, faced a personal setback, or just woke up feeling like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Oh my goodness, I've been there all the places. So during these times, social pressures can really amplify our struggles. We live in a world that often glorifies perfection and productivity, right? Social media bombards us with images of seemingly flawless lives, making it all too easy to fall into the trap of comparison. I personally have been there so often that I don't really love social media. Talked about this all in one or on an episode before. We start to think, why can't I be more like them? Or I should be doing better. This can lead to a sharp focus on our flaws and mistakes, convincing ourselves that we're not enough. But here's the thing. Self-love isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about showing up for yourself even when things are hard. It's about nurturing that inner voice that reminds you you are worthy, even your messiness. I myself has really experienced this. If you've listened to a lot of my episodes, you'll know that for a few years there, I really had some hard times. I'm not going to go too much into it. If you really want to know, there'll be other episodes you can find. Where I really dug deep into this is where I discovered I had candida overgrowth in my gut. So there was a couple years there where I didn't do much. First off, before I even knew what was happening, I would just lay in bed all day, tired, like not just tired, fatigued. And I had brain fog and I was like, what is going on? And then finally, when I did know, there was moments of beating myself for not figuring this out sooner. And why did my body have to do this? And just lots of things I had to deal with. Emotional, physical, mental, all the things, right? So I too know that there's times in life where we just don't have it in us to love ourselves. But when those moments happen, that's when we really need to love ourselves the most. So now let's break this down a bit more. One common misconception is that self-love equals self-indulgence. I talked about this in the first episode. Self-indulgence might lead us to momentarily escaping our feelings. Like, for example, binge watching TV or eating a pint of ice cream. I'm pretty sure I've been to both those accounts. Okay, well, not the pint of ice cream because I make sure we don't keep pints of ice cream in the house. Know your weaknesses and, save yourself. Okay, at least I know what I did that as a kid. I remember being home after school and I would find a container of ice cream in the freezer and just sit there and eat it, or a bag of chips. That came from a place of loneliness and just not feeling very lovable in those moments. So it's really just understanding. Anyways, I got a little off topic here, all about ice cream. Okay. Well, these things, like watching TV, can provide temporary relief. They don't address the underlying issues. Self-love, on the other hand, is active. It's about creating a compassionate relationship with yourself. It means recognizing that it's okay to feel down and that you still deserve kindness even when you're not feeling your best. So I want to go back to the whole binge watching TV for a second, because I've learned a lot about this over the past probably decade now on my self-love journey. I love watching TV before bed. I usually get 1 or 2 episodes depending on the time. It's my way of transitioning from a busy day, all my thoughts going on in my head, being with my kids, my husband, and then unwinding. And I snuggle up with one of my cats because it's his time too. And that for me, I know what that's for. But there are times where I'll just use TV as a way to get out of my own life for a while. It gives me relief. Now, we talked about awareness last episode. This is where awareness is super important, why you do what you do. There are days where I just need a timeout, like a time away. And that's when I'll put a Hallmark movie on or something, and I allow myself time. It's when we just watch, days and days worth of TV that we're escaping. It's okay to allow yourself time to unwind. It's also okay to take a break. Sometimes your emotions won't be so intense. I know mine have been, where if I'm really spiraling and I can't ground myself, I watch something or I read something to allow myself to center myself and really ground myself so I can find a way to work through my feelings and emotions. I hope that makes sense. So I want to talk about that because I have nothing against TV. I love TV, and it can be a wonderful pastime. I even watch some TV shows with my kids because I love sharing those moments with them. Anyways, so how do we practice self-love when it feels the hardest? Let's dive into some practical strategies now. Start small. I have a habit of jumping in head first with a million different things, doing all the things, I always had a go big, go home kind of mentality. But I've discovered that when I do that, I set myself up for failure because I'm taking on too much. So it's really important to start small. One of the easiest ways to begin is to commit to doing one kind thing for yourself each day. This could be as simple as taking a moment to rest, staying hydrated, or going for a walk outside. The key is to make it a daily habit. But it doesn't have to be a huge commitment either, right? 5 minutes to a half an hour a day. More if you want to, but it can be very small. Small steps over time create big results. Another practice is mindful self-compassion. When you're feeling down, practice acknowledging your pain. Instead of pushing it away, sit with those feelings for a moment. Remind yourself that you're not alone. Others face similar struggles. I just shared some of mine with you today. This simple acknowledgement can help you feel connected rather than isolated. Also, you can go and find other episodes here on Loving Me, Myself, and Life where I share, deep from my own being, my struggles. So find one that connects with you so you don't feel alone. And the third practice is gratitude. This has helped me in so many dark moments of my life. Shift your focus by practicing gratitude. Take a moment to appreciate the things you love about yourself, no matter how small. Maybe it's your sense of humor or your ability to empathize with others. Write them down if you can. If you're new to practicing gratitude, you can find other episodes I talk all about gratitude, and it will help you with your gratitude practice. The fourth practice is support. This can be a challenge, I know, because I've been there where I don't feel like asking for support. But here's the thing. You don't have to go through tough times alone. Reach out to friends, family, or a therapist. Talking to someone can provide you with perspective and remind you of your worth. I also have a free community. It's called the Be You Community Room on my website. And it's free, and you get to come and you can get support there as well. Now, I want to get a bit vulnerable with you and share a personal story. There was a time in my life when I felt completely lost. And even to this day, there's days where I still feel a little lost when I forget who I am. But back when I felt completely lost. I was juggling multiple responsibilities and feeling like I wasn't measuring up in any area of my life. It was during this time that I didn't even know what self-love was. I would wake up and never really check in with myself. I would go to work. I would be kind of on autopilot. I was living autopilot, and I could never say no to other people because I would feel like I was being judged and hurting. I was always looking outside of myself for validation, for love. But once I really started my self-love journey and began practicing self-compassion, I learned to recognize my feelings without judgment. I started small, like I mentioned earlier, by committing to one act of kindness for myself each day. I began my yoga practice. I started meditating, reading motivational books. I loved the library for that. I'd walk into the library and pick out like 10 books, whatever the max was, and come out with them in my hands. Did I read them all before I had to hand them back in? No, but I really felt powerful holding those books, and I would read whatever I could when I could. I also remember in those days, I would go for a walk around the neighborhood. I was living with my grandma at the time, and it was really new. Like I was really, really new into my self-love journey. And I'd go for a walk. I knew I wanted movement, and I would just go. I had no plan, no route. I would just walk, and I'd look at the trees, and I'd imagine shapes. I didn't know it at the time, but I was doing a meditative walk, and I would just walk all over the place. No matter where I went, I never really got lost, even though I tried numerous times. And I also ended up about taking the same amount of time up every time I did this, but it was a daily thing. So maybe going for a short walk, or allowing. The other thing I would do is when I felt overwhelmed at work is I'd take a bathroom break. Not to go to the bathroom, but to just be in a stall and practice a mindfulness act, just being there. So going for walks or allowing myself to take a break when I felt overwhelmed. Over time, these small acts made a significant difference. I didn't even know how big of a difference it was until I turned back and looked a year or two later. They also reminded me that I was worthy of love and care, even when I felt like I was falling short or even falling apart. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to challenge you to take action. Write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself today. This could be anywhere from your resilience to your creativity. And practice this simple mantra during tough times. I'm here for myself, no matter what. Repeat it to yourself, especially when you're feeling low. I'll say it one more time. I'm here for myself, no matter what. Thank you so much for joining me today on Loving Me, Myself, and Life. Remember, self-love is a journey. I've been on mine for almost 2 decades now, and it's okay to have ups and downs along the way. I know I do. It's when we build a solid foundation that when we have a hard day, a hard week, a tough month, tough year, we have these tools to lean on to get us through. Embrace the process and be gentle with yourself. If you found this episode helpful, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss our last episode where I share about living a life of self-compassion. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you are worthy of love and kindness, especially from yourself. Take care and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.